Ladies and gentlemen, in programmers, we're going to do part 5 for the piano. We're going to start to use a while loop. All right, so brainstorm ways, to put this down in your notes, to automatically add 12 keys without having to write the line of codes 12 times. Okay, so the idea is if you have to write the same line of code over and over again, it gets a little bit tedious. So see if you can figure out what to do instead. The idea is that if you take a look in the piano class over here and look at our make white keys, we're basically doing the same code over and over again. This is just for 2 keys, but if you have to keep doing it over and over again for all the white keys and all the black keys, it's a little bit tedious. So we got to try to figure out how could we fix that. Okay, so the idea that we're going to do to fix it is we're going to use a loop. And the particular loop that we're going to use is a while loop, and then later on we're going to learn a for loop. The concept of a loop, write this down. So what is the name of the local variable below, and how is it different than an instance variable? Okay, so see if you can take a look at this and see what in this code, this is some of the code that we're going to write and use. Which one of these things is an instance variable? Okay, and the answer is it's I. So int I equals 0. So that is going to be a local variable. It's going to last a short amount of time. Here's an idea of how a while loops work. So you set up your local variable, I equals 0, and while I is less than 100, well, I is equal to 0, 0 less than 100, the answer is true. And so then it's going to do what's inside the brackets. So we just have the word statement there. We're going to put some more code in there eventually, like what do we actually want to do, and then we say I equals I plus 1 or I plus plus. So now I is equal to 1. Is 1 less than 100? Yes, it's going to keep doing it. 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up until we get to 100. So is 100 less than 100? No, and then it's going to kick us out of this bracket. So it's almost like a modified if statement. So it's an if statement that just keeps running over and over again. Okay. So if you look over here, we have the I, right? Well, the I belongs to this method, so it is a local variable. Whereas if you have an instance variable, it actually belongs to the object and it lasts the lifetime of the object. Okay, while loop has the following form. We just talked about it. Write this down in your note. A loop has a local variable I that stands for iteration, or the number of times it has gone through the loop. So the word iteration means how many times have you done it. Okay, it usually starts at 0 and goes up by 1 each time. So I equals I plus 1 or I plus plus. Write that down. In the key class, right? Okay, so we're going to go back to the key and we're going to practice a while loop. Okay, so I think a good way to get started is just to go like this. We're going to go to the key class. Here is the play method, so we'll just copy this. We'll go right below it, press Control V. It's not going to like it, so we're going to call it play 10 times. Okay, and then we need to call on it, so instead of play, we're going to say play 10 times. Okay, and so we want to incorporate our loop into this, right? So we're going to go down to play 10 times, right? And we want to, your job is to try to figure out how to put a loop in here to make it play 10 times. Okay, give it a shot. Okay, so how are we going to do this? Well, we're going to have to put this. So in your code, you're going to add int I equals 0, while I is less than not 110, and then the statement is going to be greenfoot.playSound, and then you have your I equals I plus 1, and then you're going to need to add the delay in there. Okay, and so the idea is going to do something like this. When you hit play, it's going to do that. All right, let's take a look at what I have done, see if you got anything close. So in my play 10 times, I set up my local variable, I equals 0. Is 0 less than 10? Yes, so it's going to do this. It's going to play the sound. You have your I plus plus, no, I equals 1. You delay, and then you jump back up. 1 is still less than 10. 2 is less than 10. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It does it, and then it gets to 10. Is 10 less than 10? No, it's going to kick you out of our while loop. Okay? Modify this form to get it to do what you want. Okay, that's what we just did. Yeah, how many times do you want it to run? Not 100. You could do 100, but that would be pretty slow. Just something like that. Change the method call back to play instead of play 10 times, but don't erase the play 10 times method definition, as I'm going to be grading it. Okay, so I'm gonna definitely want to see that. So we're going to go back into the key class. So keep this, do not erase this, but what we're going to do to get us back to how we were is we're just going to go to play. But what I wanted you guys to do, why did we do that silly exercise that's goofy, is because I wanted you to get started with a method that uses a while loop. That's our first try at a while loop. Let's keep going and see what we have. So what do you think is going to happen if we add that times I to the code? Write down what you predict will happen, but let's kind of talk it through. So the first time I is equals 0, and it's going to delay 20 times 0. How much is it going to delay 0? The next time through, it's going to delay 20 times 1, right? So it's going to delay 20, and then actually we should probably make that more like a 5 or something. And then the next time through, it's going to be 2. It's going to be 20 times 2, 40. So what I'm thinking is going to happen is the delay is going to increase each time. Let's give it a shot and see what happens when we put that into our code. Okay, green float delay 5, and then I'm going to do, this is the times symbol, and in case you didn't figure that out, times I. Okay, so let's try that and see what happens. And so if I right click on this thing and I say play 10 times. Yep. So just like we predicted, the delay increases each time. Okay? Okay, keep that. All right, so we're going to turn off make white keys. Okay, so remember our whole idea is to try to add our keys programmatically using a loop so that we don't have to just keep saying add object, add object, add object. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to come over to our key. No, sorry, not the key, our piano. And we're going to get rid of make white keys. So we're going to F8 that. So instead, we're going to say make white keys with loop. So we're going to call on that method. And of course, we need to actually write the method. So you're going to do public void make white keys with loop. As always, we're going to add a method comment, if it'll let me, no. I have no idea what I just did. Let's try that again. Edit, add method comment. There we go. So we have that. Okay, so we're going to say int I equals 0. We're going to create our local variable called I. And while I is less than 12, we want to create 12 keys. And then we're going to say add object new key, right, with this code that we like. And then we're going to say I++. Okay, and let's see what happens when we do it. Okay, so you try it and see if you can figure out what's happening. What do you observe? What two strange things happen? How many times does our loop body execute? It should be 12 times, right? What are the values of I during each of the executions? Well, I'll give you a hint. The first time is 0. The second time it's 1. All right, let's take a look and see if we can figure out what's happening here. So look, how many keys did it make? Well, it looks like 1, but how many did it actually make? It made 12. But it put them all on top of one another, right? And what else did it do if I hit run? And I press G. Okay, so we're back to that same old problem where every key is playing G in 3a.wave, which is a problem. So we have to figure out, hey, how do we get the keys staggered, and how do we get each key to play something different? Okay, it looks like only one key was made, but they were on top of each other. How can we answer this in your code or in your notebook? How can we change the code so that the keys do not all appear at the same place, but get placed exactly next to each other? And again, here's the same hint as we had a little bit a while ago. The key is 63 pixels wide. Write the code to do this. Here's another hint. The time symbol is a symbol for multiplication. See if you can figure out how to get them staggered. Okay, and go ahead and do this. See if you can figure out the challenge and actually write the code that's going to do it. All right. Can't help myself. I'm just going to have to tell you the answer. So it's going to look a little something like this. So each time we need to scoochie it over 63. Well, how do we do that? Well, the interesting thing is I is equal to 0, then 1, then 2. So what we can do is say 32 plus, and then we're going to say I times 63. Okay? So the first time through, I is 0. 0 times 63 is 0. The second time through, I is 1. 1 times 63 is 63. So the first one is scooted over 32. The second one's scooted over 32 plus 63. The next one's going to be scooted over 32 plus 63 plus another 63. Let's try that and see what happens. All right, you can see that it places them all in a row. I hit run, and let's see what happens. They all play with the G key, so we're going to have to figure that out. Let's see what the next slide says. Yeah. Oh, well, it's pretty close. Yeah, pretty close to what I had. What is the value of I, the first iteration through the loop? What is the value of I, the third iteration through the loop? If each key is 63 pixels wide and I want to space each key exactly to the left of the previous one, what would I replace the two question marks with? Okay, and I already showed you that, but answer that. Add this code to the Piano World constructor after making the changes suggested in the question above. It should work, but what's the problem? You already know the problem is that it still all plays the G key and 3/8-wave. And then answer the question, what happened if I changed I is greater than 12 to I is, or pardon me, I is less than 12 to I is less than 5? Try it in your code, see what happens. Okay, answer that question. Okay, so this is what we've done. Add object new key G, and we have I times 63 plus kind of, there's different versions of it, but something like that will work. We use I times 63 because the image is 63 pixels wide, and I increments by 1 each time it goes through the loop. Write this down. That is the operator for multiplication. That's the time symbol. That 54 or the 32 is just to scoochie the keys over a little bit to the right. And what is still not right about the project? Well, it all still plays with the G key and the 3/8-wave. Okay, here's the quiz. What does a while loop do? What does the I stand for? What does it do? How many times will the following loop run? And be cautious when you're looking at this. You want to look at the I equals I plus 2, so it's incrementing by 2 each time. Answer those questions, and that's it for part 5.